Hi, good day guys. It's Kunya again from Micrographics Durban, Application Engineer. So, in some of my previous blogs, I've talked about manipulating the UCS. And yeah, so I thought maybe in this one I'd just give you guys a bit of a primer as to how to do this to try and get the most out of drawing. Because unlike in Inventor and Fusion, where we've got our set planes that we can work on, in AutoCAD we have to manipulate our UCS, our user coordinate system, in order to draw or change our plane that we're working on. Now if you look over here, I'm working with my WCS, my world coordinate system, and if we look here on our home tab in our 3D modeling workspace, we've got world. So that means that we're working in the normal XY. Now, to manipulate this, we firstly going to quickly show you some quick tricks to do. So, if you don't have your UCS icon, you can change it, or if you want to turn it off or change its location, you can use the first UCS button. I normally leave mine on at origin, so I can know exactly where my origin is, and if I'm working away from the point, you'll notice it flips to my bottom left hand corner. So that's our first quick thing. Next is UCS icon properties. This obviously is how we can change some of our information as to how it's displayed, etc. I'm not going to go too deep into it, just showing you where it is. You can play around with it as much as you want. Just remember, you can always reference it back or reset it back by resetting your user interface, though you will lose any of your customization. So it would be a good idea to save your interface first. Next is the UCS icon itself. Now you'll notice when we click this, this is our first one that gives us the ability to actually move our UCS icon around. And by clicking it, we can then define where our different points are that we are moving. That is our UCS icon. If I just click it once, you can see I can then move it around to show it where its location is. But more interestingly enough, we've got all these options at the bottom here. These options that we will be covering in the rest of this. This first UCS basically tries to do what all of them do together. So the base thing you can do here is once you've placed, before you click, read in your bar as to what it's asking you, and this will help you try and figure out what you're trying to accomplish. For instance, sorry, let me click that again. Going to specify base point. Specify where the x-axis is running. So in this case, maybe x-axis is running in that direction. Specify the xy plane. So basically it's asking you to specify the y. When you specify the y, you'll notice that our grid actually flips. So normally when I'm playing around with my UCS icon or my UCS, I will keep my grid on just to give me that nice visual representation as well. You'll notice if it's off, you've only got your UCS icon over there to refer to. Grid on, big plane. If you run into any problems, right below our properties, we have got previous. So we can use this to jump to our previous UCS that we had selected or rotated to. Just going to quickly show you. So you got UCS named. Now UCS named, if we've changed any, if we've changed our UCS at all, for instance over here, oops. If we've changed our UCS, we can actually go and we can give it a name by double clicking it and saying maybe Z top and go OK. Now what this does is it gives us the ability to jump back to it whenever we want, because we've now created a custom UCS. Because you see what happens is if I were to define a UCS elsewhere, you notice it's unnamed in the list. If I were to jump to something else, the unnamed one disappears. So if you need to name it in order to keep that UCS there. UCS world shifts us back to our WCS. So if I was on Z up, and I click world, it just jumps back to our world coordinate system. By the way, if you go back to your view cube and use the little drop down over there, you'll notice that we've actually got our Z top, and we can define a new UCS from there. New UCS just uses UCS like that. Next quick sections over here, we've got, which we've already mentioned previous, we've got point, so origin, so it defines where we've actually putting that location. You notice the orientation of our X, Y, Z doesn't change, only the base, basically where we are locating that origin point. Z, what we'll do is we will select a origin and then point the Z where the Z is running. You'll notice we do not have any control then on the X and Y, only the Z. We would then need to use something like our rotation, which I used previously, but I didn't mention what I was doing. So in other words, I can use maybe rotate around Z and then manipulate my X, Y into position, or rotate around my Y and get my XZ into location. This does, by the way, help if you've got your ortho mode on. You can then also do, of course, the X, which I'm not going to really mention here because it's the same type of thing. So rotates around the X, rotates around the Y, or rotates around the Z axes. Over here, we've then got 3 points. So 3 points will allow us to define all 3 points where they're running, or basically all 3 axes. So in other words, I'll give it a base point, and I'll say, okay, my base point is over there. And if I take a look, it's asking me where my x-axis is pointed. I'm going to say, okay, my x-axis is pointed in this direction. And it's going to say, okay, where's my positive y-axis? I'm going to say my positive y-axis is over there. If I point it in this direction, you'll notice my z flips down. Pointed in that direction, my y goes that way. Now you'll notice that even though it's 3 points, people might get confused here because I've only specified 2 of them. I have actually specified 3 because I specified where it is, the base point, that's your first point. I specified my x point, which would be my x-axis, which was running down this section. And then I specified my y point, which is running in that direction. Because I've specified the positive of both the x and the y with its origin, it then knew where to flip the z, pointing up. Remember when I pointed it to the left, the z flipped down. Last but not least, a quick little thing that we can do is we can just use our little quick systems, which is view. What it will do is view tries to flip it in accordance with our current view which we're looking at. You'll notice it visibly didn't change, but you notice our UCS is a bit weird now. Watch this, I'm going to flip it again. Select view, our grid changed, but that's based off our current look, where we are currently looking at. Next section is object. Now object is a little bit of it's a way to quickly align your UCS onto an object. Now when you get flat faces like this, it's quite nice, but as you can see, when I dump it on the object, it just randomly dumps the base point location wherever you've put it, which can be a bit annoying. A little bit more control, but also still quite rough, is face, in that it will align in accordance straight to the face you are on. You notice the face highlighting. Except what you can do is then use a conjunction of that and then your origin to maybe drag it into a more suitable location. And you've seen me use the drop down several times with a whole bunch of your with your world presets, top, bottom, right, etc., and then any named occurrences. So I do hope this has helped you guys. If it has, if you like it, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Cheers, bye.